Hi, I'm Lars. Welcome back to the workshop. I've been seeing in the chats that a lot of people seem to be new to XCS, and there's a lot of questions from these people. So I thought I'd put a video together to cover some of the features that are available in XCS software. We're currently using XCS 2.5.20, and your version might be a couple versions behind, might be a version behind, might be a little bit ahead of us, depending on when you watch this video. So if you have any questions about a feature of XCS, drop it down in the comments and we'll be happy to get back with you and try to explain it. Ready to learn a little bit more about XCS? If so, let's get started. Alright, so when XTool boots up, you're going to see this home page and all your projects are here, and then anything that XTool is trying to advertise will also be here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on New Project, and next thing you do is you'll see your workspace area open up. I've got ours pointed to our S1. You could also point this to another device if you have it. I haven't had mine hooked up, this machine hooked up to the F1. But whichever you hook it to, you're going to get a different type of background. The home button up here will bring you back to the home screen, and then you'll see that you can have another tab. You can have as many of these tabs open as you want. If you want a new project, if you're over here, you can click this and it will grab a new project just like it did from the home page. Below that, you have the X. This is the menu bar. Instead of them putting the menu bar across the top with the toolbar, I think they went down the left side just to save space. You have your file, your new open, import an image, just typical things that are in a file. The edit is your basic edit with your copy, paste, delete. Arrange, you're not going to see anything highlighted here, but this is where you can bring stuff to the front, move it backward, align to left, vertical align, line centers. You can distribute horizontally, vertically, and reflect horizontally and vertically. Now, all of these will appear once you get an object on your workspace. And same thing with group. When you group multiple things, when you highlight multiple things, you'll get the group going on. Your edit, trace, filter, adjust, crop, all this stuff will appear as you're working through things. Text, your size, your case. If you put text on the screen, you'll see it. Show or hide the grid. You can make the grid dark, medium, or light. I like mine dark, so I like to be able to see it a little better. You get your help, your user guide, and settings. So settings will take care of like your millimeter to inches, whatever language you want. Do you want auto snapping, precise vector path selection, display vector? So going through all this stuff here is something that 99% of the time you're not going to change. Pretty much you're going to need to be in millimeters or files. Your file setting is import an image too large for the canvas. Ask me every time, do you want to scale it? That's how mine's set up. If you don't, you can change it. Precise DXF parsing. This means you're going to have to be very close when you're importing DXFs. So this is a 0.0004 in inches tolerance, and it'll click them together. Your logging levels, just information. Developer mode. This is if you're doing any development stuff. You're going to update the firmware. You're going to start it up. The developer mode, that is. And then there's your about on the XCS. We are running version 2.520. I just did an update today. Below that little area here, I'll just go off to the right just real quick. This is how you can save. You can upload this to the cloud. This is your undo or Control Z. This is your redo, or for some reason they choose Shift Control Z. In the Windows world, Control Y, but for some reason they went Control Shift Z. You have your canvases, and we're going to process this on a base plate. If you were having a rotary, you could click on rotary or rotary with a chuck, curve material. You could, make sure you check out that. Conveyor feeder, which XTool sells, and your screen preparation. This is for silk screening. So for canvases, you can have multiple canvases. You can just add another one. This is very helpful if you have a lot of stuff that that goes together, but it doesn't fit on a screen, or you want to print out, you want to cut out the scores or the engraves or the cuts separately, or sections of this separately. So things that you don't have to score, or if you have like the head of something you want to put someplace, or it's going to be a really big head, instead of trying to fit it on this little area. So that's canvases are really good for stuff like that. You can rename them or you can delete them. So the next thing I want to talk about is this toolbar going down the side here. So you can add in an image. So like if I bring in a PNG, yes, that's my whole thing. Yes, scale it to fit the canvas. And now here this is sitting on here. All right. So that is it. It is in the blue color, but it does a really good job in bringing in PNGs or SVGs or DXFs. The next thing I want to talk about is the text. So you can put a text out here. This has got some really cool features to it. So we're going to click off of it. We're going to move it over here. And I'm just going to enlarge it a little bit. And of course, you see at the top, you're going to have your type of text. So let's make this something like blackjack. Blackjack will work. Regular size, you can adjust the size wherever you want, however big you want it. We're just going to keep it big because I want you guys to be able to see it. You can say regular. Sometimes when you get really big, you can't go into bold and whatever. This here, how much distance is between your lettering, and this is how much distance is between the letters themselves. Okay, so like I can span these out, I can bring them negative, whichever way. This one here is to, like, if you had words that were stacked on top of each other, like if I came in here and I put in hello and said, goodbye, like that, and I wanted these tighter, I could come into this and I could say, well, I want these a little bit, tighter. I don't want these as far apart as each other. So it's kind of a cool little thing. This is also for if you want to go to the left, the middle, the right. Organize original case. So if you change the case for some reason, like this, you want goodbye. So it's all uppercase. You get this and go back to the original case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in here, welcome. And this is a really good example of what this tool can do. Now, we have this selected. Notice the weld came up. So you see how if we were to cut this, if I was to put this to cut, and we went through to cut, this would come out where the E would end up getting cut out, or the L would get cut out, the C would get cut out, and the O would get cut out. Every one of these would end up individual pieces laying on the ground. Okay, when I take them apart, if that's what you want, great. Put them back together like a puzzle. Might look kind of neat. I don't know. But the one thing that you're looking at here is this. So when the laser comes around, it's going to come up, it's going to go over this, going to come back down, and it's going to cut this out. Then it'll come back down and it will try to cut this. So like I said, it'll be like a puzzle, so it could be kind of cool. Or you could hit weld. Now watch what happens when we hit weld. All these things become one. So now L-co would be one cutout, and me would be a cutout in W. If you want that, that would work great too. Now something that we can do is we could take this, and I'm just going to make a copy of it a couple times, like this. Actually, I'm just going to make one. I'll make one copy. And I'm going to go up here, and on this guy, I'm going to delete me. And on this guy, I'm going to delete Wilco. And then I'm going to take me, and I'm going to bring it up to the edge here, like this. Get it the best in there I can. I'm not super great at this, but something like that. Just so they're barely touching. They don't have to be overlapping greatly. They just need to be barely touching. Now if I select both of these together, I can click this button here. It's called Unite, and it will, air quoting this, weld these things together. So now we have one piece, and you notice that they're now connected. So now you got ELCOME. The last thing we need to do if we want to put this all together is to grab that W. So what's a good way to do that is you can say edit compound. Now you can mess with pretty much anything in here that's solid together. Like you could take the middle of the E, the middle of the L, or the O. But we want to take the W. We're going to scoot it over, and we're just going to barely touch it. I'm actually typing my keys so that we just get barely a touch on there. Now I want to go back to this. Well, first I need to hit done. So now I need to hit done. And now I want to come back and I want to release the compound. All right. Now we have this thing going on, and I want to click the W, hit the Shift key, and hit the outside line on the welcome. And then I'm going to click Unite again. And that brings us all together. Now I can highlight everything again, and I can say make a compound, and now I've got something that I could cut out pretty easily, and you would have the hole here, the hole here, the hole here, and here, and it would cut out welcome perfectly. So that's something that's really nice. All right, so the next thing is what I call the constructors. There's line, shape, and circle, and you're going to say, well, no, that's shapes. Well, this is kind of shape here, right? This here is just line, so I call it the construction. Now, there's a line, a rectangle, and a circle, and start trying to learn these hotkeys. So like for text, it's T. For image, it's an I or Control I. For construct, you get LRC, and I use the LRC quite a bit. So if I hit an R, I get the little crosshairs. I can draw me a little rectangle out here. Nothing major. All right, so like boom. Now rolling up and down your mouse will take this up and down. If you hold the Shift key down, you can move it left and right. If you hit the Control key, it'll zoom in. All right, it's pretty simple. Lot like Visio. If anyone here has ever used Visio, it's exactly how Microsoft Visio works. Now, the X at the top, if we take this and we say, I want this to be at 2 and this at 3, it's going to move it to 3 down and 2 across. All right, so that's just the position. Now, for the width and the height, if I want to make this 4, wait a second, see that changed now. So what I have to do is I have to unlock this aspect ratio. So 4 and 5, and then I'll get a 4 by 5 square. This is something that gets a lot of people in trouble. All right, so I always think the aspect ratio should be unlocked because you still have the ability over here if you want to size it out, to wherever you want. And if you're like, oh, I really want this to be there, so you come back in, you hit 4, and now this is 4.5. All right, so kind of keep that in your mind for a while. Now, the inches, the degrees here, this says inches, but that's part of the Y. But this degree is like you can turn this 45 degrees. Or you can take this little thing here and tilt it back. But if you can't get it perfect where you want it, you can enter it in. If you want rounded edges, these are the radius from that point down to a center point of a circle. Think about it like that. So if you put 1 in here, you're going to have, a 1-inch circle. So this is 1 inch from here up. If you put a 2 in here, and then you put a 3 in here, okay, so you can't go 2, so maybe 2.5. Yeah, it's going to be a whole number. Well, it might not be a whole number, but it's just going to round it as far as it can. Until now, if this was a square, you can make a circle out of it. Okay, I'm going to put it back. So we're going to put this back to 0. And then I'm going to add another square here. So let's just, drop an R in here, and I'm going to put another rectangle like that. Okay. And I'm going to show you about this guy. This is the align. So we could align the left side. So if you click this and you hit Shift, it's not Control, it's Shift, or you can run your mouse through them. Click a mouse button down like this and run through them. You can select them. So you can align the left. You can align the right. If we take this guy and we put him over here, and we select these guys, you can align the top, you can align the bottom. Now, this is really cool. I'm just going to, before I get to the next part of this, if you put a bunch of these things inside of here, like different sizes like this, and you're trying to build something really neat, like a corner, so we put these guys in here, you could highlight all these, and you could say align to the right, and then align to the bottom, and you see you kind of get the stacked on there. And I think it's a neat kind of thing to do. So what I'm basically trying to say is don't overthink something that you're trying to do. So don't like try to start drawing lines here or setting these in. Just align right, center, right, and then align bottom, and you'll have these. Now, something else that you can do with this is we could sit here and say, let me align all the horizontals. So now these are all on the bottom, and they're all aligned straight up in all the centers are aligned this way. We highlight these again, and I say vertical line, well, that will align it this way. Now these could have all been, so these could have all been on the side here, and we take this like that, undo the top. We could put these over here, and if you highlighted them, you say align vertical center, it's just going to move them up. The one that you guys, most people are using today, because we used to have to do vertical line and horizontal line, they're just hitting align center. So if you have an image that you want to put in here or something, this is a great way to do it, just do an align center. Now, there's one more thing with this alignment, okay? Well, it's more with the distribution. If we take a rectangle, and we put this rectangle down here, and I'm going to click off this, we're going to make this 0.5, we're going to make this here 2. No, we'll make it 4, like that. And if you make a copy of this, so we got, just kind of drop them in here. It doesn't really matter where you put them. There, we're going to have 5 of them total, right? So say you have 5 of them here. You can highlight these, very quickly come in and say align the top, and then you could highlight them all again, and then there's this really cool little feature, distribute horizontally, like that. So now they're all distributed. Now you've got the problem, you're like, I need 5 of them, but it's 5.2 inches wide, and I only want them to be 4 inches. So we're going to turn off the lock aspect. We're going to come over to the width, and I'm going to put 4. I'm going to click over here. Now what it did is it made the entire thing 4 inches, but these used to be 1/2 inch wide. Now they're 0.383. So it will help you out with this. Again, if you wanted to make these 10 inches, it's going to make these bigger. So nearly 1 inch, 0.95 inches wide. All right. So this could be helpful to you. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're making a ladder. I don't know. But it's kind of neat little feature. So now we're going to take and we're going to delete all of these except for this one little guy. Now, this is a pretty cool feature that they have, and this is going to kind of pull us into a couple other things. So they have something called an offset. Now you can put an inner offset in here. Let's do squares. Say we want to push this out to maybe, say we want this 0.25. So it's 1/4 inch totally. There we go. So we got a 1/4 inch popping that way, 1/4 inch that way, gives us a 1/2 inch. Say we take this one, the center one, and we drag it over here. Now this guy, we're going to want to score it, okay? So we're going to make this a score. Now, the way that I'm just going to tag it, we're just going to make it red because that's what we use for scoring. Engraving's blue, and cutting is, we usually use black. Now I'm going to group these two here together, and we'll make that a compound. Now, if I look at this and I hit engrave, all of this will be engraved out. I'm not putting any powers or anything on this, but that would get engraved. This is the score. So let's put this back over here on top of that. Now you notice all the crosshairs here in the middle. See them? They light up. That means I'm dead center. Now if I click off, all of a sudden it's gone. So now you need to do is you click on that engrave, come up to here, and you can say send to back. Pretty cool, huh? Now this helps out a lot, when you're doing things. And again, you could also go to the canvas, so you could drop multiple canvases down here, but we're not going to do that. Just another thing that, the way that these guys help out and work. Let me get rid of this back piece. We're going to edit this a little bit. Now you have edit here where you can come in, you can drop vectors on here. Okay, and there's all kinds of horizontal line designers. There's a bunch of different things that you can do with this. Now, are they cool? Yeah, they're pretty neat. And you can pop them around and do a bunch of things. It's kind of something you got to play with in order to figure it out. But you can do this. You can change vectors around just by putting a couple things in. If you grab a scissor and you cut, you're going to cut out a line. All right. Now you can put this back to select and grab this, and does a really good job of just attaching it and docking it. And then you can hit done. You can also do this by clicking on this button here. It automatically brings you into this exact same setting that you were in when you had this selected and you said edit. All right. Now, let's get rid of this and we're going to go down to shapes. There's a variety of different shapes out here. You can see there's all kinds of them. If you hit this, you'll see. There's probably more that you could get, but right now these are pretty neat, and I like them a lot. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this cow because this cow is really unique, right? But it does show you how to reflect this or flip this horizontally. Okay, you can also flip it vertically or reflect it vertically. So that's what these do. So now we know about all this stuff through here, up to here. We know edit. You can edit the compound. So you can take things off of here with all of these. So these are all been put on. So you can change your cow out if you don't want it. There's a couple little things that are pretty neat, right? If you hit escape, it's not going to edit the main cow over here, but that's how these things are put together. So I think I talked about this before, but you could also put a degree in here if you want 45 degrees, or you can use this little handle to flip the cow around. But the thing is flipping it like this, you can't really turn it around. That's why you need this. And if you do this reflect horizontally, it'll just go the other way. Okay, let's get rid of the cow. Now, the next thing that is on here is applications. And there's a grid array, there's a circular array, material test array, code generation, batch fill. This requires us going out to the internet and setting some stuff up. So I will actually have a video come up on that exclusively. And there's measurement. And they finally are getting their measurements to something that I would consider usable. And this is what I consider to be usable. If we take measurement and I click here, right, click the distance, now it grabs the entire line. And I can select a part of here, or I can come up here and it'll tell me, yeah, you're in the middle here, right? Which it didn't do before. It was very try to get this on the line and measure it over. You have to zoom in, zoom out. But this is a very good feature. So I can do this here and come down to here like that. Or, if you click on this, it will tell you the height of it anyway. But very cool feature. Code generation. Well, let's start at the top. Grid array. Now this is something that I think is very neat. Okay. I think there's a lot of possibility with this. And the grid array, you can come in, say you want 2 rows by 2 rows, and then boom, you get 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing really difficult. If you were engraving a bunch of things that were the same, this is the way to do it. If you want them all to come out, I don't think you can. Well, let me see something here. Put another rectangle out here like this. And if we go to the grid array, you can come in and say you want X spacing to be, 0.25, and I want the Y spacing to be 0.25, like that. So you can space these guys out, whatever, if you have something you want to put in a grid array. This way you can cut, and everybody's happy, okay? Now, the next thing is really cool. It's called a circular array. Now, this is a little different, okay? So the step is going to be 45 degrees, and there's 8 copies of it. But you can crank this thing up. And I usually crank this thing up. Let's go to like 33 or 45. Yeah. So that's a pretty neat kind of intricate laser that you could come through and you could run all this stuff in. The other thing you can do with this is you could reduce this, and this could become like a really neat tire wheel or, a doily or whatever. There's a variety of things you can do with this. And I like this a lot. You can also add to the circular arrays. So, I could put another 20 of these on here if I wanted to. Or I could say, instead of doing the step here, say we do a step of 5 and I want to do 5 more copies. So you can get, a lot of string art looking kind of things with this. And that's what it reminds me of, is string art or Etch-a-Sketch or something like that. So I really like that. The material test array. Now, Susan did an example of a material test array a long time ago. And so we need select one object and get it on the canvas. So we need to put an object out here like that. Then we're going to click material test array. Now you can put power and speed parameters. Max is 100, max is 300. You can set all this stuff up, then you can hit done. Now this is a little big, but usually material test arrays are like this big, like that. And this will go in. Now each one of these little boxes here, you would have to go in, highlight this, ungroup them, and then have a box. So this says 310. So this is your speed of 300 and your powers of 10. So here's your 310. So you got 33 and 300. See your power and speed over here on the right. They're all changing appropriately. So you don't have to rebuild this. It's already built. Now, if you know what your material is, there's a lot of material up here, like 3 millimeters of basswood, 3 millimeters of corrugated paper, black walnut plywood. So there's a bunch of these that are pretty neat. If you hit the 3 millimeter plywood here, we use a lot of this. So if you put a rectangle up here, you're going to see this material test array. So if you click on this, you can see which one you want, and you can click on the box that you want. So like this would be, 50 and 50 for a score. If you're trying to engrave, I don't know, 30 and yeah. See, it's about how dark you want it. So you got to click on here and say, maybe I want that, and that would bring in the 50 and 200. And if you're going to cut, which one do you want? Do you want it just to barely cut through? Probably any place in here, like 15 and 80 would be good. The lower that you get your power and your speed, and it's going to be successful, the better. All right. I'm just going to let you know, because if you're going to run your power at 100 and your speed very, very, very slow, like this, if I could run the speed at 100, right? So power at 100, speed at 15, I can't. That doesn't make any sense. But if I could do it at 15 and 80, I'm still going the same speed, but I'm actually getting, the same, looks about like the same output. So that's what a material test array helps you with. Code generation. Say you want to put a code generator in here. So you put in here https youtube.com/@Lars workshop, and you hit save, and you get a QR code. I'll leave it there for a second. If you take your camera on your cell phone, that'll bring up our website. That's how fast this works. And these do work. They work very well. The batch fill, you're going to need internet access for. Like I said before, I will do a video on this once I get more time. But I try to keep these videos pretty tight when we've already done measurement. This is the design find. If you're looking for a theme or metal, acrylic, or whatever, you can look for puzzles, cutting boards, all kinds of stuff. And this, I think these are designs that people sell. AI is another one that you put in your information here, and it will go and try to figure something out for you. I'm terrible at it, so I'm not going to try it out. Now, the last part of this I want to cover is what I call welds. Now, some people, I don't know what they're actually called because there's no term for it up here. But in order to do this, you need to put two rectangles on the grid. So here's the two rectangles. The problem with this is that most people have is they want to cut out of this one or cut out of this one. They don't know which one they're going to cut out of. The reason is because when you select these, you don't know who's on top. And the one that's laying on top is going to cut. All right. So it's not the order you select them in. So let's say I want to cut out of this one down here. What I need to do is go to this one, come over to here and say bring to front. Then I can highlight both of them and I can hit subtract, and that will cut out of this one. If I want to cut out of this one, I click on this and I say bring you to front. Then I highlight and I can say subtract, and now it'll cut out of that side. Now, what is this good for? Well, if you watched the video on how to create a business card holder, I do this a lot in there. All right, there's a lot of this going on, but you have to keep track of which one's on top, which one's on the bottom. Now, if we select these again, and you do this and you say unite, it's going to cut the pieces out in the middle, and it's going to keep the outside border. If you were to click on this here and say unite at overlap, then you're going to get rid of the outside. All right. So these two are kind of like opposites of each other. You can see the diagram here with the little darkness in the middle. This means that that's the only part you're coming out. This one here says you're going to take out that middle part and make these all one. This one has the square with the dark side. It's the one that's on top is cutting into the one on the bottom. Think of it like that. This one's a little different. All right, so we're going to subtract the overlap, and nothing happened. All right, okay. Each one of these act differently under engrave. So if you hit this guy here, you're going to see the subtract, and this is what's going to get engraved. Okay. If you look at this one, you're going to unite, it's just going to get rid of this, and it's going to engrave the entire thing. This one, going to engrave the inside. This one's the oddball out, because you're going to get rid of the inside. Okay. So if you look at these, this is taking everything. This is taking only the inside. This is taking the outside of this. And this is just cutting whatever is below it. So if you know anything about mathematics, and we put a circle here like this, put another circle down. This is the union. Okay, this is exactly what we're looking at up here. This is taking everything. This is taking just the combined portions of it, if you will take that. Okay, so like if this is blue and this is red, this is purple. If this is yellow and this is blue, this is green. This one here, if you're on engrave, you're going to get rid of that middle spot. So this is like the get rid of anything common, if you will. This is keeping everything, only things that are common. This is keeping everything. And this is cutting one portion out of the other. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope that you understand a little bit more about XCS. I find it's a very useful tool to have, and it actually works pretty good with XCS and what you need to get done with it. There are a lot of other tools out there. Not every tool is good at everything. There's a lot of tools that are good at like one or two different things, and to be honest with you, that's pretty much most of them are only good at 1 to 2 things, maybe 3 out of 10, right? So you're going to need a bunch of different tools to work with if you're going to be doing anything with lasers or CNC machines. We use XCS, we use Fusion 360, we use Silhouette, we use Canva. I mean, it just keeps on going on and on. But that is what you need if you want to be successful in this business. If you have any questions or about anything, just feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to answer anybody's questions. You're always welcome back here in the workshop, and as always, have a nice day.